Ladies and gentlemen, back to the channel. Today we've got another UFC preview and predictions. The main event this weekend from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada is Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov, two top 5 heavyweights go at it with a maybe title shot on the line. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. It is a very solid 12-fight card, and we will get it started first off in the lightweight division between Medeiros and Hadzovic. I've already done that fight. I've already talked about that one on the Font and Garbrandt card, so we're going to roll that tape from that video a couple weeks ago. But folks, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. Now we've got Hadzovic and Medeiros. Yeah, a really weird fight here this early on in the card. We're going to start first with Hadzovic. His last fight was a loss to Moicano on the Lee Oliveira card over in Brasilia. He lost that fight in about 40 seconds, got submitted right away. Moicano still yelled at him after he beat him, and that was that fight. Before that for Hadzovic, though, he did lose to Christos Giagos by unanimous decision, and most recently we just saw Christos Giagos pick up a really good win over Sean Soriano at UFC 262 just last week. And then before that for Hadzovic, he beat Marco Polo Reyes by TKO, and before that picked up a win over Nick Hein, lost to Alan Patrick before that, beat Marcin Held, and then lost his UFC debut. Yeah, it's been a mixed bag result so far for Hadzovic. He's been good at times, and he's been not great at times as well. He's coming into this fight with a 2-fight losing streak, and yeah, for Medeiros, he is coming off a losing streak as well. He's lost his last 3, and we're going to talk about Medeiros more in just a second. But if Hadzovic is going to win this fight, it's probably going to be on the feet. If Medeiros is going to win this fight, it's probably going to be on the feet as well. I expect a stand-up fight in this one. It's going to be who can land that big shot first, and that's really how simple I can leave it for you. This is going to be a weird fight. It's just going to be two guys who are kind of older in the weight class, especially for lightweight. Hadzovic is 34, Medeiros is 33. And yeah, that's Hadzovic coming into this fight with a record of 13 wins and 6 losses. Let's talk about his opponent in the former headliner in Medeiros. And yeah, Medeiros, former headliner of a fight night card. It was Cowboy versus Medeiros. You got to go all the way back to February of 2018 in Austin, Texas. Donald Cowboy Cerrone put away Medeiros late in that first round. It's a weird main event, it really is, because Cowboy and Medeiros, they're all buddy-buddy before the fight, and even Cowboy's knocking down Medeiros. Medeiros gets back up, they high-five. It's a weird Cowboy fight to watch, most definitely the weirdest Cowboy fight you are going to see. And yeah, Cowboy still beats Medeiros in that fight. And then after that from Medeiros, he took a fight against Gregor Gillespie. He lost that one a year after the Cowboy fight on Cejudo Dillashaw. And then a year later, he loses to Lando Groovy Venata by unanimous decision over in Rio Rancho on the Anderson Blachowicz 2 card. So this is really make or break right now in the UFC for Medeiros. He got knocked out twice against given two good guys in Cowboy and Gillespie. And say what you want about Cowboy Cerrone now, Gregor Gillespie just picked up a really good win most recently over Carlos Diego Ferreira. So a good fighter there. And then Lando Venata, hey, just picked up another win in the UFC, his last fight. But yeah, Medeiros, before that 3-run drought, though, he did have wins over Sean Spencer, Eric Silva, and Alex Oliveira. A really good fight against Alex Oliveira in Detroit on UFC 218. And yeah, Medeiros has been in the UFC for a very long time. He made his UFC debut on UFC 159, Chael P. Sonnen versus John Jones, in the fight where that fight lasted 27 more seconds. Chael Sonnen would have been the UFC champion, but he's still the greatest WEC middleweight champion in my heart. But Medeiros made his UFC debut in that one. If you want to look at his Strikeforce debut, I mean, he made his Strikeforce debut in February of 2010 in San Jose, California. I mean, Medeiros has been fighting for a very long time in major promotions in the US. Medeiros has fought the best of the best. I mean, in the UFC, you got Jim Miller, you got Dustin Poirier, you got Alex Oliveira, you got Cowboy, you got Gillespie, you got Venata. Really good fighters Medeiros has taken on, the veteran of the sport. And in this fight against Hadzovic, I'm going to take Medeiros. Yeah, I'm going to take Medeiros to get the job done in this one. It's make or break right now for him in the UFC, and he's been fighting in the promotion again since 2013. I think Medeiros will beat Hadzovic. Do I think he gets a finish in this one? Yeah, I think he does. If Medeiros wins fights, it's usually by finish, and I think he'll get the job done by knockout in the second round. Now we've got Justin the Guitar Hero Jaynes taking on Charles Rosa. Gonna start first here with Justin Jaynes, currently in the UFC, does hold a record of 1-3. Came in, picked up a good win over Frank Camacho won that one by TKO on the Blades Volkov card, won that one in 40 seconds, one knockout of the night, all of that. Then came back, took a fight against Gavin Tucker, lost that one by Rene Kachok in the 3rd round, then fought Gabriel Mogli Benitez, got KO'd by him with a really nasty body shot by Benitez, and then came back after that, fighting on the Overeem Volkov card. Justin Jaynes did lose to Devontae Smith by TKO, by doctor stoppage. I do believe it was Jaynes' eye that swelled up, if I'm not mistaken on that one. But in the Devontae Smith fight, Jaynes got beat up pretty bad on the feet. Same goes in the Gabriel Mogli Benitez fight. Even though the Benitez fight only did go 4 minutes, Benitez did show the striking advantage in that fight. And then in the Gavin Tucker fight, Gavin Tucker just overwhelmed Jaynes on the ground. Yes, the Frank Camacho fight, Jaynes did come in there. He did stun Camacho with a shot early and put him down for the count, but other than that one fight, other than that 40 seconds, Jaynes really has not looked great so far in the UFC. Currently holding a record of 16 wins and 7 losses. It is tough for Jaynes considering the last 3 fights that we have seen him in, he has been really beat on the feet and he's been beaten on the ground as well. And when you're taking on a guy in Charles Rosa, you know the ground game is going to be coming. So we will have to wait and see if Jaynes can stop the jiu-jitsu and ground attack of Charles Rosa. So that's Justin Jaynes. Again, he's 1-3 in the UFC. Win over Frank Camacho, lost to Gavin Tucker, Gabriel Mogli Benitez, and Devontae Smith. Let's talk about his opponent here in Charles Rosa. And Charles Rosa did not look good in his last fight. I mean, not at all. He got destroyed by Darrick Minner. That fight was not competitive. Darrick Minner, I think you got a 30-26 in there. You got a 29-27. You got, I think, a 30-27 in there as well. I mean, just a dominant performance by Darrick Minner on that Blades Lewis card back in February. And then before that, for Charles Rosa, did pick up a split decision victory over Kevin Aguilar. He took that fight, I mean, I think like a month after losing to Bryce Mitchell, where he got dominated in as well. UFC 249, Bryce Mitchell just completely destroyed Charles Rosa on the ground. Showed you really how good a Bryce Mitchell was in that fight. And before that, for Charles Rosa, he beat Manny Bermudez, submitted him with an armbar on the Reyes Weidman card. Lost by TKO to Shane Burgos before that. Beat Kyle Bonachak by unanimous decision before that. Had a split decision fight against Yair Rodriguez. He lost that one by split decision. Before that, beat Sean Soriano by Darce. And then his first fight in the UFC was a loss to Dennis Seaver. He lost by unanimous decision in his UFC debut over in Stockholm, Sweden on the Gunnar Nelson versus Rick Story card. Yes, that was the main event. Rick Story won by split decision. Max Holloway, by the way, was the co-main event of that card. So Charles Rosa in the UFC wins one, he loses one, he wins one, he loses one. That has been the entire run so far for Charles Rosa. It's a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, and then most recently it has been a loss. So will Charles Rosa win this fight to continue the trend? I think he's going to, and this is why. I've seen Justin Jaynes get beat on the ground by Gavin Tucker. I know Gavin Tucker, tremendous ground fighter, but I think if Charles Rosa can just replicate some of the game plan that Gavin Tucker did have in that fight, and I know Rosa's stand-up game by far not as good as Gavin Tucker, and that's where Justin Jaynes will have the obvious advantage in this one. Jaynes is going to try to keep this fight standing as Rosa is going to try to get this one to the mat. But I think Rosa is going to be the better grappler, obviously, in this one. I think his grappling is going to override what Jaynes can get going on the feet. And that's why I'm going to have Charles Rosa winning this fight. I don't think he's going to get a stoppage, but I think he'll win this one by decision with overall control time on the ground. And he continues his streak of lose one, win one so far in the UFC to improve to a record of 14 wins and 5 losses. Next up, we have got a fight between Julia Avila and Julia Stoliarenko. I've already talked about this fight earlier. I think it was on the Brunson and Kevin Holland card. So my prediction doesn't really change. Stoliarenko missed weight before that, where she had troubles on the scale. So hopefully she can make the 135 weight class for this fight. But again, my prediction doesn't really change. So let's just roll that footage. Next up, we've got Julia Stoliarenko taking on Julia Avila. We're going to start here with Stoliarenko. Last fight was a fight against Yana Kunitskaya that happened. Yeah, interesting fight. It was on Lewis and Olenek over in August of last year, and it was a pretty dominant fight for Yana Kunitskaya. I mean, you got a 30-26 in there with 2 30-27s. It's pretty obvious. I mean, Stoliarenko, let's just get straight to it. She's a good ground fighter. She's a very good grappler, and she basically has to get a submission, or not a submission. She basically has to get a takedown or get the fight at the ground to win a fight, and that's just, it shows in her record. I mean, you got 0 wins by knockout or by TKO. Yeah, 8 wins by submission, 1 win by decision, and that was in her fight to win the Invicta Bantamweight Championship over in March of 2020. So there's that. Her first run in the UFC, she started on the, or not the contender series, sorry, on the Ultimate Fighter. She lost in the final by split decision. They had her at featherweight because they brought in a bunch of bantamweights to go fight featherweight. Season made 0 sense. And she got cut by the UFC because she went back to bantamweight, picked up a lot of wins, came back, fought Yana Kunitskaya. But like, it's very obvious where this fight is going. If Stoliarenko cannot
cannot land a takedown in this fight or give this fight to the ground, she's going to lose to Julia Avila on the feet. That's how simple, and it's just that simple. It really is. You got an over record for Stoliarenko of 9 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws. The UFC record, of course, is 0-2. The first loss coming in 2018, and then, of course, the latest in August of 2020. Let's talk about her opponent, though, in Julia Avila. And Julia Avila's last fight was a fight against Sijara Eubanks. That was on Waterson Hill over in September. She did lose that fight by unanimous decision. Eubanks scored 29-27s across the board in that fight. And then before that for Julia Avila, she did beat Gina Mazzani by TKO over on Ian Calvillo in June of 2020. And then before that, her debut fight in the UFC was a win over Penny Kinzad on UFC 239. That would be Thiago Santos taking on John Jones in the main event. Also, Julia Avila does own a win over Nico Montano, the former, I guess, UFC women's flyweight champion, over in 2017 January. That was actually supposed to be the fight. It was supposed to be Avila and I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Avila and Montano, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that was supposed to be the rematch. But yeah, of course, Montano had to pull out. That was back though. That was a couple months ago. That was in November of last year. So that fight never happened. Avila now getting Stoliarenko. I believe Nico Montano, is she suspended again? I don't know what's happening with Nico Montano. I'm gonna keep it real with you. The former, of course, UFC women's flyweight champion. But Avila, current record of 8-2. It's pretty simple how Julia Avila wins this fight. If you keep the fight standing, just use the same game plan Yana Kunitskaya did. Keep the fight standing, you're gonna win the fight. I mean, it's that simple. Avoid the clinch, just keep the fight standing. Even if this fight does go to the ground, it's not like Julia Stoliarenko, no matter what, is going to win this fight. Julia Avila does have a pretty solid ground game as well, so I really just don't see a path to victory for Julia Stoliarenko on this one. Avila is a very big favorite in this fight. You got about -350 right now. I'm sure it's going to change. The graphic on the screen might be a little bit different, but it's about that. Avila is a pretty heavy favorite in this one, and I do expect her to get the job done. We're going to go with the Julia Avila. I'm going to go with the unanimous decision. I think she's just going to be able to keep the fight on the feet. Just outpoint her. That simple. Next up, we have got a fight here at light heavyweight. It is between Ike Villanueva and Marcin Prachnio. We're going to start first here with Ike Villanueva. So he's 1-2 so far in the UFC. Came in, lost his first fight at Chase Sherman on the Smith Teixeira card, that weird card on a Wednesday in Jacksonville. He lost that one. Came back, fought Jordan Wright, Munoz Egger. He lost that fight after Jordan Wright got him with a pretty nice elbow, cut him wide open, and that fight did get stopped by Dr. Stoppage. So what does Ike Villanueva do? He comes back, he fights on Magny and Chiesa, another Wednesday card over in Abu Dhabi, and he comes back, he's on the main card, he knocks out Vinicius Moreira, kicks Moreira basically out of the UFC, and beats him with that KO. Pretty good knockout right there for Ike Villanueva. Really secured his spot in the UFC, even though he might be fighting for his contract here. I do not know. Definitely Prachnio is. I don't know if Villanueva. Is it lose and you're out? We will have to wait and see. But Ike Villanueva coming to this fight with a record of 19 wins and 10 losses. I'll keep this simple for you. Ike Villanueva, really good striker. He's got a lot of power, and yes, you saw them in the Vinicius Moreira fight, and yes, was Vinicius Moreira a good UFC fighter? No, he wasn't. He went 0-4. Now, consider the guys he fought: Alonso Menefield, Eric Anders, Paul Craig, and Ike Villanueva. I mean, good fighters, but yeah, Moreira was just not very good in the UFC, but it was still a good performance for Ike Villanueva. And yes, the first round wasn't very good at all. The second round wasn't great as well. We were thinking, okay, it's probably going to be a 3-round boring decision win, but then boom, Ike Villanueva catches Moreira with a really nice right hand, and he puts him down, and he wins that one by KO. So Ike Villanueva does have a lot of power. Now, we basically never see him on the ground. And going back to what I was saying about, do you think Ike Villanueva is going to get cut if he doesn't win this fight? I don't think he does, considering his first fight in the UFC was at heavyweight. Took that fight on pretty short notice to fight Chase Sherman. Villanueva is a light heavyweight, and the first fight against Chase Sherman was at heavyweight. So if you consider his light heavyweight record in the UFC, Ike Villanueva is 1-1. And Jordan Wright, at the time when Jordan Wright beat Ike Villanueva, I don't think too many people thought that highly of the Beverly Hills Ninja, but look at him now. Jordan Wright just knocked out Jamie Pickett at UFC 262 and looked very damn good in doing so. So, hey man, Ike Villanueva, pretty solid fighter, even though he does have those 10 losses, but still, 19-10 Ike Villanueva will fight Marcin Prachnio in this fight. Let's talk about Prachnio in full. So, Prachnio is currently 1-3 in the UFC, came in to the promotion after fighting in one championship. He was 13-2 at the time, with one of those 2 losses being to Alexander Rakic back in 2014. Comes in, he fights Sam Alvey. Now, it's in Orlando, Emmett Stevens. He comes in there with maybe like one of the worst game plans of all time, just rushes in at Sam Alvey, and Alvey knocks
knocks him out. Okay, Prachnio after that fights Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev's like a top 10 fighter now. Okay, he gets head kicked. Whatever. He comes back. He fights Mike Slow Rodriguez. He gets knocked out. I do believe it was in the co-main event. It was on the main card of Munoz and Edgar over there in the UFC Apex. I think it was like, even if you don't know now, you know Dana White was hyping that fight up. Yeah, it was the co-main event of the card. And Mike Slow Rodriguez did KO him. So they give Prachnio a 4th shot in the UFC. Fights Khalil Roundtree Jr. Does not look good to start the fight. Comes back. Looks very good at the end of the fight. And Prachnio wins that fight 29-28 after losing in the early stages of that fight. So Prachnio gets knocked out 3 times to start his UFC career, then picks up that win against Khalil Roundtree Jr. Now, Prachnio, good striker, and the Prachnio that we did see in One Championship, tremendous fighter, and the fighter that we saw in the Sam Alvey fight, not very good, just really couldn't get going. Same with the Ankalaev fight, and the same with the Mike Slow Rodriguez fight. He got knocked out 3 times in the first round before beating Khalil Roundtree Jr. in a fight that, let's be honest, Khalil Roundtree Jr. should have won. So, Prachnio is currently 14-5. And for my official prediction, I'm going to take Ike Villanueva. Here is why. Villanueva is the underdog in this fight, currently at about a plus 180 range for Villanueva. The reason I am taking him is because I've seen Marcin Prachnio get cracked so far in his UFC career. I've seen him get cracked by Sam Alvey, by Magomed Ankalaev, and Mike Slow Rodriguez. Ike Villanueva is a powerful striker. You saw that in the Vinicius Moreira fight, and say what you want about Vinicius Moreira, but Ike Villanueva knocked him out cold. And the Jordan Wright fight, looking back at it now, is not a bad loss. I know what you can say about Marcin Prachnio. Okay, yeah, Magomed Ankalaev isn't a bad loss now either. And Ike Villanueva does have a loss to Chase Sherman, who just lost to Andre Arlovsky, but still, I like what Villanueva does have. I like his striking, his kind of brawling boxing style. I think Villanueva, again, brings a lot of power to this fight. I think he's going to be able to crack Prachnio again, as I've seen Marcin Prachnio get cracked 3 times so far in the UFC. I think this is going to be numero 4. I think Ike Villanueva comes in there. I think he knocks out Marcin Prachnio. Give it to him again in the first round, even though I predicted Khalil Roundtree Jr. to knock out Prachnio in the first round. Give me Ike Villanueva to knock out Prachnio in the first round as well, as Ike Villanueva moves up to 2-2 in the UFC. Now we have Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Michel Prazeres. Going to start first here with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Made his UFC debut in his last fight. He beat Alex Cowboy Oliveira. He submitted him with a guillotine choke on the Khabib and Gaethje undercard. Really nice finish for him. Dominated Alex Cowboy Oliveira on the ground in that fight. And before that for Rakhmonov, came over from M1. And yeah, he was the M1 welterweight champion before heading on over to the UFC. Now, think about Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's 13-0. He is undefeated. He's got a very good ground game, as you saw in the Alex Cowboy Oliveira fight, but also a really good stand-up game as well. And once he gets the fight to the mat, he can work his ground and pound well as well. So Rakhmonov, a very well-balanced fighter, and yes, he's taken on a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner in Michel Prazeres in this fight. But Rakhmonov currently undefeated, 13-0, and the way he beat Alex Cowboy Oliveira was so damn convincingly. It was not a close fight. Rakhmonov really set the pace on the feet, really just, dictated where that fight was going to go, and then eventually Alex Oliveira pushing him back against the cage, and then Rakhmonov immediately putting in that guillotine choke, and again, they got right to the ground. Rakhmonov with the guillotine put away Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Looks so damn good in that fight. Again, he's undefeated currently, 13-0. Let's talk about his opponent, though, in Michel Prazeres. And it has been a damn long time since we have seen Prazeres in the UFC. Last fight was in February of 2019 on the Blachowicz-Santos card over in Prague, Czech Republic, losing to Nordiev by unanimous decision. Before that, he submitted Bartosz Fabinski by guillotine. And then before that, beat Zach Cummings by split decision in Santiago, Chile. Beat Desmond Green before that. Beat Mads Brunel by north-south choke. Beat Josh Berkman. He did beat Gilbert Burns, but that was all the way back in Brasilia on Cyborg versus Landsberg in September of 2016. Made his UFC debut all the way back on UFC on FX. Belfort versus Rockhold back in Brazil in 2013. Prazeres has been fighting in the UFC for a very long time. Now, the problem with him, though, is it's been the inactivity. He has not fought since February of 2019. It's been over 2 years for Prazeres since he stepped into that octagon, and now he is 39 years old. And the way I see this fight, Rakhmonov is somewhat just of a younger version of Prazeres, and I know Prazeres isn't as good on the feet as Shavkat Rakhmonov is, but still, Rakhmonov, I think, can do everything Prazeres can do on the ground and everything that Prazeres can do on the feet and a lot more. I really like Rakhmonov in this fight. I think he's the all-around better fighter. Prazeres really does not not much of a threat on the feet, and once he gets to the ground, yeah, of course, he's got 11 submission finishes in his career. He is a second-degree black belt in BJJ, but still, I like Rakhmonov to win this fight. I really do like the pressure that Rakhmonov does bring on the feet and what he can do on the ground. Now, I don't know if Rakhmonov is going to want to be on the ground with Michel Prazeres, but I definitely do think he's going to be able to keep this fight standing if he does need to, and all around, I think Rakhmonov's going to be able to dictate where this fight does end up, and in all, I mean, that's really who I think is going to win this fight, and that's going to be Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he gets the job done here against Michel Prazeres. I think he wins this one by TKO. I'm gonna go with the second round TKO finish for Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he stuns him on the feet, finishes him on the ground. Rakhmonov improves to a record of 14-0 and remains undefeated. Now we have got Hani Barcelos and Timur Valiev. We're gonna start first here with Timur Valiev. So his last fight in the UFC was a win over Martin Day. Won that one by unanimous decision on the Overeem and Volkov card. Final scorecards on that one, you have got 30-25, 30-25, and a 30-26 victory for Timur Valiev. Fight was not competitive. Valiev just really controlling that fight on the ground and wherever that fight did take place. Now, first fight in the UFC for Valiev. It was on the Munoz-Egger card. It was against Trevin Jones. And yeah, Valiev lost that fight, but it did get overturned to a no contest because Trevin Jones was on marijuana. So even though, again, we've talked about this before, should that fight gotten overturned? I do not know, but I mean, okay, if that fight happened now, that fight wouldn't have got overturned. So, whatever. But they still count it as a no contest right now. Valiev is still unbeaten, I guess, in the UFC. That's what the commentators will tell you. But he did not look good in that Trevin Jones fight. He did not. Well, he looked good to start that fight. Uses wrestling really well. But eventually, Valiev got tired in that second round. And Trevin Jones stunned him on the feet and put him away. Now, was it Valiev being exhausted, or was it Trevin Jones' strikes? It was a combination of both, and Trevin Jones put down Timur Valiev and won that fight by TKO, but again, it got overturned. So Valiev is still technically 1-0 in the UFC. He is undefeated. Now, what does Valiev bring? Really good wrestling and a pretty solid stand-up game as well. It's the constant pressure from Valiev on the feet that does translate into his very good grappling as well. Now, it's going to be tough for him to do that against Hani Barcelos, because considering how good of a striker Barcelos is and how good of a grappler he is as well. So yeah, that's Timur Valiev coming into this fight with a record of 17 wins and 2 losses. Again, probably should have 3, but now let's talk about his opponent here in Hani Barcelos. And for Barcelos, his last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Khalid Taha, and that fight won Fight of the Night. Good performance by Barcelos in that one. The final scorecards on that fight, you have got 30-27 across the board for Barcelos, but it was a very competitive fight. The scorecards really don't represent how close that fight really was. Barcelos before that beat Said Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision on the Egger and a Korean Zombie card over in Busan, South Korea. And then before that, picked up a win by TKO on UFC 237, beat Chris Gutierrez before that on the Ultimate Fighter finale show, and before that beat Kurt Holobal by KO on the Dos Santos Ivanov card over there in Boise, Idaho. That fight also won Fight of the Night. And Hani Barcelos, a very good striker, but also a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. He is also a black belt in BJJ, is Barcelos. Now, I'm going to take Hani Barcelos to win this fight. He's 16-1. The one loss is to Mark Dickman all the way back in RFA, in Cheyenne, Wyoming in April of 2014. Now, I'm going to take Barcelos to win this fight. Why? Because I think Barcelos is a better striker than Timur Valiev, and pure wrestling, okay, maybe Timur Valiev is the better pure wrestler out the two, but if Valiev gets him down, do you want Barcelos to be on his back? Like, I just don't see how Timur Valiev has a very clear path to victory in this fight. I think Hani Barcelos can dictate this fight on the feet. I think he's a better striker than Timur Valiev. I really think he is, and I think, obviously on the ground, I think Barcelos is the better grappler. So it's just not a very good matchup for Timur Valiev if you look at it. And again, this is a guy in Barcelos who was undefeated in the UFC. He was currently 5-0. He beat Said Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision. He beat Khalid Taha in his last fight, and a guy in Timur Valiev who's 1-1, and he got knocked out by Trevin Jones. I think Barcelos obviously a better striker than Trevin Jones as well. He's a better grappler than Trevin Jones. I'm taking Hani Barcelos to win this fight. Do I think he puts away Timur Valiev? Yeah, I think he does, because if Trevin Jones put away Timur Valiev, what's not to say Barcelos is going to do the same? So I'm going to go with the Hani Barcelos first round TKO finish. Yeah, bold pick, but I think Barcelos gets it done in the first round by TKO to beat Timur Valiev and improve to a record of 6-0 in the UFC. Now we've got a fight between the former Cage Warriors champion and Jai Herbert, the former Cage Warriors lightweight champion, taking on the former headliner in the UFC in Renato Moicano. Going to start first here with Jai Herbert. So his last fight was a loss to Francisco Trinaldo. Got called the big left hand by Trinaldo, and that was, of course, the classic Dan Hardy stop the fight where Herb 15. Yeah, probably let that fight go a little bit too long, but Jai Herbert got KO'd by Trinaldo in that fight. It was a very fun fight, and Trinaldo did win that one. That was Jai Herbert's start in the UFC. Before that, he did win the Cage Warriors lightweight championship, where he did defend it for the first time. Came on over, lost to Trinaldo. Was supposed to fight Mark DeCasey earlier on in that year, but of course, event got canceled due to coronavirus, and then of course he lost to Trinaldo in Fight Island. So yeah, Jai Herbert, they were going to throw him in there with Dakar Close. I didn't like that fight for Jai Herbert because he got knocked out by Trinaldo. I didn't really want to see him. I thought he was going to lose to Dakar Close. I'm going to be honest with you here. And this is showing the UFC's got some pretty high expectations for Jai Herbert. They threw him in there with Trinaldo in his first fight and he lost. They come back, they're like, yeah, we're going to put you against Dakar Close. That fight doesn't happen. Then they're going to throw him here with Renato Moicano. I mean, those are three pretty tough fights and three veterans of the sport. In Trinaldo, in Close, and in Renato Moicano. I mean, it's a tough fight for Jai Herbert. Now, how does Jai Herbert win this fight? Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. He's got to crack Renato Moicano on the feet. I mean, we've seen Moicano get knocked out 3 times. 3 out of his last 4 fights, Renato Moicano's been knocked out. Now, it was Jose Aldo, and it was the Zombie, and it was Rafael Fiziev. But still, that's how Jai Herbert's got to win this fight. It's going to be on the feet. Now, can you keep this fight standing against Renato Moicano? Again, that's going to be a very tough task for him as well. It's a tough fight for Jai Herbert in his second fight in the UFC. I just don't think it's very fair to him that he gets a fight against Trinaldo and they throw him back in there with Renato Moicano, a guy who's been in and out of the top 15, who at one point I do believe was like number 7 when he fought Jose Aldo Jr. So I just don't love the matchmaking here. I think it's a little bit too high of a fight for Jai Herbert, but hey, he could stun everyone. And again, it only takes one considering Renato Moicano's current chin, but still, Herbert, if he gets stuck on the ground against Renato Moicano, I don't really see this fight being all that competitive. But if he can't stuff a couple takedowns from Renato Moicano, obviously Jai Herbert will have the advantage on the feet, and he will be able to stun Renato Moicano. But again, it all just depends on if Moicano can secure that takedown or just get this fight to the ground at any way possible. So that's Jai Herbert. Let's talk about his opponent, and Renato Moicano. So yeah, Moicano hasn't been great in his last couple of fights. I mean, we'll talk about the last 4, which I think are the most meaningful. I mean, since 2019, those have been his 4 fights. The first one, it's a spot against Jose Aldo in a co-main event in Brazil. He gets knocked out in that fight. It's going to happen to you. It showed, okay, Jose Aldo is still here to stay. He's still a very solid fighter. Then they turn him around in Greenville, South Carolina, a couple months later against the Korean Zombie, and you saw Zombie beat Gane pretty convincingly. By the way, how that fight was a 48, 47, 49, 46, I do not know. Zombie won every single round of that fight, but it's all right. I mean, Korean Zombie knocked out Renato Moicano pretty easily. It's what you expect of the Zombie. He's a damn monster. He's a fight away from the title. One more time. Renato Moicano after that fights Hadzovic. He wins out by rear naked choke on Leo Oliveira in Brasilia. Immediately gets that one to the ground. Finishes by rear naked choke. Good win for Moicano. There's nothing else to say about that one. And then after that, he gets KO'd by Fiziev. All right, Rafael Fiziev, that's a guy training out in Tiger Muay Thai. You're going to see him in the top 10 very soon. Fiziev's got a very high future in the UFC. He's only 28. That man is a monster. Get that man back in the octagon as soon as possible. Amazing striker. So those have been Moicano's last 4 fights, and you've seen him. Okay, once he gets in there with a good striker, he's been in trouble, and that's really been the problem with Moicano. If he can't get the fight at the ground, he's been in trouble. Now, the Cub Swanson fight, good striker in Cub Swanson. What did Renato Moicano do? Got him to the ground, he submitted him. Rear naked choke finish, UFC 227 in Los Angeles on the Dillashaw Garbrandt card. He beat Calvin Kattar, got him to the ground, UFC 223. Good performance out of Renato Moicano. Won that one 29-28, 30-27, 30-27s. I mean, that was a good performance. And before that, the Brian Ortega fight. All right, Brian Ortega. Renato Moicano is good at jiu-jitsu. Who's one guy in the weight class who's better at jiu-jitsu than Renato Moicano at 145? It's Brian Ortega. Now the problem is, hey, I don't know if it's a problem, but Renato Moicano is at 155 pounds now, and he's taking on a good striker in Jai Herbert. I don't think this fight's all that competitive. I don't think it is. I think if Renato Moicano is going to secure that takedown or get this fight at the ground within maybe the first 2 minutes of this fight, I think it's going to be a long night for Jai Herbert. The only way Herbert wins this fight again is if he stuns Moicano on the way in, or if Moicano cannot land that takedown, then obviously it is all day for Jai Herbert. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Moicano's going to be able to land that takedown. He's going to be able to drag this one to the ground. And even if even if Moicano's in guard in this one, I like him there too. I really don't think Jai Herbert he's not much of a threat on the ground against Renato Moicano, considering how good of a jiu-jitsu practitioner Moicano is. We've seen him submit some of the best in the UFC. I think this is going to be just a good performance for Renato Moicano. I think it's going to be a levels fight. But again, it could all change because Jai Herbert can land that one shot. And again, we've seen Moicano get knocked out 3 out of his last 4 fights. So there is always that possibility. Don't get me wrong. Jai Herbert can come in there. He can land one and he can knock out Renato Moicano. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Moicano lands that takedown. He gets him on the ground, and I think he puts away Herbert with a first-round submission. I know a lot of first-round finishes I've picked so far on this card, but I think we get another one here. Moicano submits Herbert in the first round. There's levels to this. Now we've got a welterweight bout between the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, and Nicholas Dalby. We will start first here with the Dirty Bird in Tim Means. So Means, last fight, good win over Mike Perry by unanimous decision, and then before that beat Laureano Staropoli by unanimous decision as well. Means, by the way, was supposed to fight last week. Fight never came to be against Danny Roberts. I don't believe Roberts contracted COVID, unfortunately for him. I think was it COVID? I don't know. All we know is that Roberts withdrew, but Means now getting Nicholas Dalby on very short notice. But again, he's looked very good in his last 2 fights. I mean, the dominant performance of the feeding is Mike Perry on a pay-per-view portion of a card looked good in that one. The Staropoli fight looked good as well. Now, he got submitted by Daniel Rodriguez, and I know what you're thinking right now. Hey, Nicholas Dalby just beat Daniel Rodriguez. Tim Means lost to Daniel Rodriguez, so Dalby should win this fight. All right, MMA math does not work like that, but D-Rod did sink in a guillotine in the second round of their fight in Rio Rancho, and he put away Tim Means. Good win right there for Rodriguez. And before that for Tim Means, he beat Thiago Alves by guillotine choke. And before that, lost to Nico Price. That's going to happen to you, though, when you fight Nico Price. That man is a madman. And yeah, he put away Tim Means. But Means has been fighting in the UFC for a very long time. And he made his UFC debut all the way back on UFC on Fuel Sanchez versus Ellenberger in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, hell, the second card he was on was Mighty Mouse versus Ian McCall. I mean, look at some of these cards. Henderson Melendez, Johnson versus Moraga. And we got Brown versus Silva, Lawler versus Brown, Machida versus Dalloway, Namajunas versus Van Zandt. Don't forget, that was a main event at one point in time. I'll mention this every single time. Paige Van Zandt, there was a point in that week where Van Zandt was the favorite over Rose Namajunas. Incredible stuff. But to Means, back to present day. Means is 31-12-1. What does Means always bring? Good striking. Now, his ground game is not bad as well, but I just think Nicholas Dalby will have the advantage on the ground in this fight over Tim Means. But Means' striking is better than Nicholas Dalby's, and that's where Means got to keep this fight. He's got to keep this a striking fight, kind of a brawling fight with Dalby, somewhat like what the Mike Perry fight was with Means. Keep this fight on the feet and dominate. I wouldn't say dominate, but just outstrike Nicholas Dalby. That's what Means has got to do to win this one. Again, he's 31-12-1. Been fighting in the UFC all the way back to February of 2012. So that's the Dirty Bird. Let's talk about his opponent in Nicholas Dalby. So Dalby's last fight in the UFC was a win over Danny Rodriguez. Looked good in that one. You gotta believe 30-27 on that one and 229-28 on the UFC 255 card. Of course, the same card where Tim Means beat Mike Perry. Now, before that for Dalby, I was down on Dalby. I mean, okay, he's coming up, so we'll just start his UFC career. He comes in, he beats Alex Oliveira. Cool. He wins by unanimous decision. He's the Cage Warriors champion. Comes in, beats Oliveira. Cool. In Denmark. After that, he fights Jesse Ronson, and that was a fight Dalby was 110% supposed to win. He was not. I don't think he was supposed to fight. He's supposed to fight Danny Roberts first too. Yeah, so Roberts' name's coming back up right now, but originally it was supposed to be Dalby versus Roberts. Roberts could not make it. I don't believe. Yeah, he's supposed to fight Roberts over in England on the Woodley Edwards card. That was the first fight night card that got postponed, but they come in, they get him Jesse Ronson, and Ronson, I mean, again, not a great UFC fighter. I mean, he's coming in from PFL. He went 0-2 in PFL. He comes into the UFC and he beats Nicholas Dalby. Now, that fight has been overturned since. I believe it was some sort of PED, though, that Jesse Ronson won on that. I'm not completely sure on that. Don't take my word for it, but that fight did get overturned. It's now a no contest, so technically that fight never happened. But Dalby got submitted in that one in the first round by rear naked choke. He got taken down. Ronson took his back. One of the biggest underdogs on that card, and Ronson put away Nicholas Dalby on Whitaker Till over in Abu Dhabi. Not a great look for Dalby at all. It just wasn't. And now this is his second round in the UFC. His first round in the UFC was not great. Comes in, beats Elizeo Zaleski dos Santos by split decision, has a draw against Darren Till, loses to Cummings, loses to Sabata, loses to Carlo Pedersoli Jr. as well. I don't believe I put that first run in the stats page of this video, but still, he didn't look great in that first run. Again, he beat Zaleski dos Santos. He had a draw against Darren Till, which is pretty cool, but then he won in that 3-fight skid, came back to Cage Warriors, picked up their championship for the second time, and then, of course, got the call back to the UFC. Dalby's 19-3-1. Now, he will have the grappling advantage, I think, in this fight against Tim Means. On the feet, I do like Means, and it should be a good fight. I really think this is probably one of the closer ones to call on this entire damn card. And my prediction, though, I'm going to be taking the Dirty Bird Tim Means. I do like Means in this fight. I think the brawling style from Means and the overall striking from Means is going to be too much for Dalby. And yeah, I'm taking Tim Means, who's what? He's 37 years old. Dalby's 36. So yeah, Dalby's older than you think. He really is. So 2 veterans of the sport here, but I'm going to take the 37-year-old in Tim Means. I think the striking is going to be enough. I don't think this fight's going to end up on the mat. And in a pure striking fight, I'd like Tim Means to beat Nicholas Dalby. I think he gets it done by unanimous decision. So next up, we've got a fight that was just added, I do believe, like less than a week ago. Andre Touchy Fili and Daniel Pineda. A really good fight that they did add to this main card. Glad we got it here. Gonna start first with Daniel Pineda. And I know his last fight, you might be down Pineda. Lost in UFC 256. He got KO'd by Cub Swanson in the second round of that fight. Got knocked out cold in that one. Good win by Cub. Before that for Pineda, he came back to the UFC, beating Herbert Burns by TKO on UFC 252. And then before that, he did fight in PFL, won his first 2 fights in PFL. Then eventually, it got overturned due to a PED for Pineda. So didn't actually get those wins, but he did look good in those 2 fights in PFL. And then the first run for Pineda in the UFC was not amazing. Came in on UFC on FX, Gallard versus Miller. Comes in there, beats Pat Schilling by rear naked choke, then picks up another win, loses 2 in a row, beats Justin Lawrence, loses to Diego Brandao, then loses to Robert Whiteford in UFC 171. Hendricks versus Lawler 1. And then he got cut from the UFC, went to Legacy, picked up 3 wins, went to Bellator, lost to Emmanuel Sanchez in his first fight over there. He went 1-2, came back to LFA, Fury, then PFL, and then of course he got called back to the UFC. Daniel Pineda, very good submission artist and a very good stand-up threat as well. I mean, all around just a very good fighter in Daniel Pineda. He can get the fight done on the feet, he can get it on the ground as well. Coming in though to this fight with a record of 27 wins and 14 losses. Now, if you are worrying about the chin of Daniel Pineda, because he has been fighting professionally since 2007, he is 35 years old, Andre Fili is going to test that chin. Fili is a very good striker, and we will see, man. We are going to see if Pineda still got that chin on him. Just gonna have to wait and see for this fight though on Saturday night. Again, Pineda is 27-14. Very good striker, very good grappler. Let's talk about his opponent though in Andre Touchy Fili. And Fili didn't look great in his last fight. Bryce Mitchell really put it on him on Hall and Silva over on Halloween. Yeah, 29-28, 30-27, 30-27 in that one for Bryce Mitchell. Looked good on the feet in that one actually, and looked pretty good on the ground as well. Just a really good thug nasty performance there. And then before that for Fili, he had a split decision fighting against Charles Air Jordan on Ian Calvillo. The final scorecards on that one, he got 2 29-28 for Fili, and then 1 at 29-28 for Charles Air Jordan. Before that for Fili, lost by unanimous decision on the Conor McGregor versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone card. Of course, Sodi Kusev won that one by unanimous decision. Fili before that beat Shimon Moraes by KO. Beat Miles Jury before that. Lost a very close fight to Michael Johnson. I thought Michael Johnson won that one in Nebraska on the Gagey Vic card. Fili thought he won, obviously, but I thought Michael Johnson got the job done on that one. Fili before that won a split decision fight against Dennis Bermudez. Beat Artem Lobov before that by unanimous decision. Lost to Calvin Kattar. Lost to Yair Rodriguez as well. Beat Gabriel Mowgli Benitez. He fought Max Holloway in his second fight in the UFC on UFC 172. Jones Teixeira in Baltimore, Maryland. That was on the main card of that pay-per-view. Holloway won that one by guillotine though on the opener of that card. And then Fili made his UFC debut all the way back on UFC 166 of the trilogy between JDS and Cain Velasquez. He beat Jeremy Larson by TKO in that one in Houston, Texas. Fili though, good striker, very good striker. Not a bad ground game, but I would give the advantage to Daniel Pineda. Now, I'm gonna take Andre Fili to win this fight though. Again, I said it earlier, Fili's gonna test the chin of Daniel Pineda, and I think he's gonna be able to crack him in this one. I think he's going to. Fili's got heavy hands for 145, he does. And again, Pineda's coming off that TKO loss to Cub Swanson, where Cubs looked very good on that one. Pineda did not. I like Fili to get the job done in this one. I think if this fight does go 3 rounds, I think Fili's got the cardio to go 3 rounds. Obviously, Pineda does as well, but I do like Fili with an advantage in that category as well. And I overall just like Andre Fili to get the job done in this one. Now, if Pineda can get him to the ground, I think Pineda will have a little bit of an advantage down there. But I think Fili's going to be able to keep this fight standing. I think he's going to be able to outstrike Daniel Pineda. And hey, I think he gets another KO finish. I'm going Andre Fili with a second-round knockout on this one, putting away Daniel Pineda and improving to a record of 22 wins and 8 losses in his 30th professional fight. Fun fight between Kenny Nzechukwu and Danilo Marques. Really excited for this one, man. Nzechukwu in his last fight picked him to beat Carl Zolberg. He was a big underdog on that fight. About plus 205 beginning of the week. I think he got up to like a plus 250 at the end of the week. Oh my goodness, Nzechukwu beat Carl Zolberg. He knocked him out in the second round. Big upset pick. What a fight that was, and I was so hyped. Nzechukwu came in there, took a lot of punches from Carl Zolberg. I mean, I think it was one of the biggest statistical comebacks in the UFC ever. I mean, Nzechukwu he wasn't gonna completely like destroy in that fight, but he was losing. Came back, knocked out Ulberg, and won the fight. Oh my goodness. I mean, incredible fight. Go watch it. UFC 259 undercard. Before that, Kennedy beat Darko by unanimous decision on the Covington Lawler card. And his UFC debut did lose to Paul Craig by triangle choke on the Barbosa Gagey card in Pennsylvania. But hey, Paul Craig just beat Jamal Hill in his last fight, dislocated his arm. Paul Craig, tremendous jiu-jitsu practitioner. Get him in a triangle. What you gonna do? And Kenny Nzechukwu did go through the contender series twice. Won on both times he did appear. First time by split decision. Second time KO'd Dennis Bryant with a head kick over in August of 2018. Nzechukwu, tremendous striker, heavy hands, very good boxer, and he's got some really nice kicks as well. The problem with Nzechukwu in this one is, you know what Danilo Marques is gonna bring. Good grappler. He's not really going to stand with Nzechukwu at all. Marques is immediately going to shoot. He's immediately going to try to get this one to the ground, and that's how Danilo Marques beat Mike Star Rodriguez. So we will have to wait and see, because Danilo Marques, say what you want about his career before the UFC, and hey, I was one of the biggest doubters of Danilo Marques. I'll be honest with you. But man, he looked good in the Mike Star Rodriguez fight. Nzechukwu, the game plan is simple. Keep this fight on the feet. You're probably going to beat Danilo Marques. If you're on the ground with him, a little bit concerning, because considering he did not look great in the Paul Craig fight once that fight got on the ground. I know what you're saying. Paul Craig, top 15 fighter, very good grappler, but Danilo Marques also has got that tremendous BJJ as well. So that's Kenny Nzechukwu, though. Coming into this fight, the record of 8 wins and 1 loss. Looked very good in the Carlos Ulberg fight, even though he was losing in that first and early in the second round. Came back, though, put away Carlos Ulberg and knocked him out. So again, that's Nzechukwu. Let's talk about his opponent, though, in the Brazilian, in Danilo Marques. So we'll just get it out the way quickly. So yeah, the reason I doubted Danilo Marques coming into the UFC is like the guys he fought were just absolutely terrible. In Brazil, the regional promotions, I mean, I was reading them off real quick, as I think I've done every Danilo Marques fight. 8-17, 0-3, lost to a fighter 6-6, beat a guy's 5-9, lost to Myron Dennis, good fighter in LFA, lost by split decision. Beat a guy's 0-16, 5-4-1. It came into the UFC after a 2-year layoff, over 2-year layoff, about, I mean, what, 36 or 30 months? Came and beat Ibrahimov. I mean, Ibrahimov was terrible. It was not a good fight at all. Not gonna lie, that fight was terrible. I picked Ibrahimov to win that one as well, but holy crap, that fight sucked. I mean, both guys gassed out. Marques just a little bit, he had a little bit of better cardio than Ibrahimov. It was a terrible fight. Don't watch it. But Marques won that one, and I was like, okay, he's going to get destroyed by Mike Star Rodriguez. Rodriguez coming off a knockout winner. Actually lost to Ed Herman, but still, he probably should have won that one by knockout. Danilo Marques comes in there, and he submits him. He takes him down, he takes his back, and he, beats him by rear naked choke. I was actually excited for Danilo Marques and Ed Herman. So that fight got canceled. I'm more excited, though, with this. Nzechukwu and Marques is a very fun fight. Now, this is so simple. Marques, what does he got to do to win this fight? Takedown. That's how he beat Ibrahimov. That's how he beat Mike Rodriguez. Got him to the ground, submitted him, took his back. Now, he didn't submit Ibrahimov, but took his back at multiple points in that fight. Didn't end up getting the finish, but still. That's how Danilo Marques wins this fight. How does Nzechukwu win this fight? He stuffs a couple takedowns, keeps this fight on the feet, and knocks out Danilo Marques. I want to give you an in-depth summary on how each guy can win the fight, but I mean, that's it right there. I don't really see any other way for either guy to win this fight. It's pretty simple. If Marques can land that takedown, I think he's going to win. If Nzechukwu can stuff a couple and keep it on the feet, or land a big shot at any point in this fight, Nzechukwu wins. And yes, Danilo Marques can come in there, get a takedown the first and second rounds, keep Nzechukwu on the ground for those first two, have this one up 2-0, and then late in the third round, Nzechukwu could land that bomb like he did in the Carlos Ulberg fight. Now, he was getting dominated on the feet on that one, but still, losing on the feet in that fight, in the Ulberg fight, came back, man, that big bomb, big flurry against Carlos Ulberg, and knocked him out. So Nzechukwu can come back from that. So I do like Nzechukwu if we're thinking, okay, he's down 2 rounds to nothing, he's got to go for broke here. But it's a tough fight to call. It really is. And again, Danilo Marques was fighting pure bums outside the UFC, comes in to the UFC and picks up 2 pretty solid victories. So it's a tough fight to call for me, but I mean, come on. We're taking Kenny Nzechukwu. I mean, was there ever a doubt? Come on. Kenny Nzechukwu going to win this fight. I'm still not sold on Danilo Marques. And yeah, third time's a charm here. Yeah, I'm picking against Danilo Marques for the third straight time in a row. And Nzechukwu going to do what I thought Mike Star Rodriguez was going to do to Danilo Marques. He is going to knock him out, and he's going to knock him out in the first round. Yeah, is this the most finishes I've ever called? Probably, but I like a lot of finishes on this one. There's a lot of guys who finish fights on this card. And yeah, if Danilo Marques wins this fight, probably submits Kenny Nzechukwu. So someone's getting finished in this fight. Is it going to be a knockout from Nzechukwu, or is it going to be a submission by Danilo Marques? I'm leaning towards that knockout of Kenny Nzechukwu. And again, big factor for me in this one. Okay, Marques could win the first round. He could win the second round. And Nzechukwu can come back, still land that bomb at any point in the fight in the third round and put away Danilo Marques. I'm going with Kenny Nzechukwu to knock out Danilo Marques, though, in the first round. I think he gets it done before Marques can even shoot for a takedown. I think it's going to be a quick night in the office for Kenny Nzechukwu. Bold pick, yeah, it definitely is. Am I picking Nzechukwu because he knocked out Carlos Ulberg? Maybe, but still, I like Nzechukwu in this one, man. I took the big upset pick in the Ulberg fight. I'm taking another upset pick for Nzechukwu over Danilo Marques. Give it to him by KO in the first round, and Nzechukwu continues his winning streak. Now we've got the co-main event of the evening, and yeah, Tanner Boser's back. Boser's back again. He's fighting OSP, the former title challenger, at 205. Fun fight here. It really is. OSP's back at heavyweight. He's taking on Tanner Boser. Now, if you watch Chael Sonnen's video about this fight, kind of interesting because he just talked about he talked about gas station food for 5 minutes. Hey, that's Chael Sonnen. Makes everything sound entertaining, but this is going to be a good one. It's going to be an interesting one, and we're going to start first here with Tanner Boser. So, last fight against Ilir Latifi. Now, I picked Latifi to win that one. Thought the wrestling was going to be too much. Big upset pick on my end. And hey, Ilir Latifi got the victory in that one. Was it a controversial decision? Somewhat. I thought Latifi won, though. Latifi won with his ground game, worked the takedowns, and beat Tanner Boser on the ground. Now, before that for Boser, lost to Andrei Arlovski. And again, it feels like we just talked about Tanner Boser because we just did. This was less than a month ago. It was like 3 weeks ago we talked about him fighting Ilir Latifi, but in the Andrei Arlovski fight, didn't really do anything. The Pessoa fight knocked him out. The Linz fight knocked him out. Ciryl Gane, hey, Bongame is in the main event for a damn reason tonight. And then his first fight in the UFC was in Boston over Daniel Spitz, won that one by unanimous decision. Boser also made his runs over there in ACB, also fought in various promotions in Canada, Unified MMA. He was the former champion over there in Alberta. So there's that. But Boser coming to this fight with a record of 19 wins, 8 losses, and 1 draw. Now, I want to take you back. After the Rafael Pessoa fight, we're going to the Andrei Arlovski fight. I'm thinking, okay, Tanner Boser coming out party. He's going to knock out Andrei Arlovski. I think we talk about this every time Arlovski does fight any up-and-coming heavyweight, and I know Carlos Felipe's calling out Andrei Arlovski, so yeah, Arlovski is like the best gatekeeper of all time, but Boser, we're thinking it's going to be one of these fights where he knocks out Arlovski in the first round. We're thinking like a Jairzinho Rosenstruck fight against Arlovski. We're thinking like a Francis Ngannou fight against Andrei Arlovski. Didn't happen. Arlovski made it a boring fight like Arlovski sometimes does, and he did what he needed to do to win that fight. Same with the Arlovski and Chase Sherman fight. I mean, it's a classic pitbull performance out of Andrei Arlovski, and he beat Tanner Boser. So Boser, you come back and lose to Latifi. Now we're looking at a potential 3-fight losing streak for Tanner Boser. After the Rafael Pessoa fight, I'm thinking, hey, beats Arlovski, we're in the top 15, and we're looking up for Tanner Boser, considering his only loss in the UFC so far is to Ciryl Gane, who just beat, or at the time when we're talking about the Andrei Arlovski fight, who's just coming into a fight with JDS next, right? He beats JDS, he beats Rosenstruck. Gane's number 3 right now. That was Boser's only loss if he beat Andrei Arlovski. He lost that fight. He lost to Latifi. Now you're looking at a fight against the former title challenger in Ovince St. Preux, where Ovince St. Preux, he looks at that Ilir Latifi fight. He's got the exact same game plan. Take down, keep him down, look for a submission. This is not an easy fight for Tanner Boser on short notice. It's not. It really is not. I know OSP is prepping for a fight at 205, but... And Chael Sonnen mentioned this. OSP must be so relieved he can go to his local, what was it, AM, PM, and eat a hot dog or something. I don't know. He's supposed to fight Maxime Grishin before this, but I mean, for Boser, it's a tough fight. How does Boser win? He keeps his fight on the feet and he outstrikes Ovince St. Preux. It's pretty simple. And how does OSP win this one? He takes him down and tries to submit him with the St. Preux, or of course the Von Preux. But yeah, that's Tanner Boser. Again, coming into this fight with a current record of 19 wins, 8 losses, and 1 draw. Let's talk about his opponent in OSP. So was Ovince St. Preux good in his last fight? No, not really. Got TKO by Jamal Hill, but Jamal Hill, undefeated fighter at the time, top 15 guy, I would say. It's gonna happen to you. He gets knocked down in the second round. It's all right. OSP missed weight in that fight. Weighed in 1.5 pounds overweight at 205. Now he's come back to heavyweight. His first fight at heavyweight was Ben Rothwell. A lot of people didn't like that fight. I thought it was somewhat decent. I liked the fight. It was in Jacksonville. Hey, last seconds of that fight, Ovince St. Preux knocks down Rothwell, but Rothwell still gets the decision, win by split decision. Hey, I'm a big Ben Rothwell guy. I still think he's a top 15, potentially top 10 fighter. I'm just going to say it right now. So I don't really see that as a bad loss for Ovince St. Preux at all. The Alonzo Menafield fight, good win for him. Came back to light heavyweight, knocked him out, 1 KO of the night over Im Sakai back in the Apex. And before that, for Ovince St. Preux, you're looking at a Von Flue win over Michael Zachechek. You're looking at a loss to Nikita Kirilov. You're looking at a loss to Dominic Reyes, a win over Tyson Pedro, a loss to Ilir Latifi, a win over Corey Anderson, win over Yushin Okami in a main event over in Saitama, Japan, and a win over Marcus Rodrigo de Lima. And then you're looking at 3 straight losses to Oh yeah, John Jones, Jimmy Manuwa, and Volkan Oezdemir. So, and he definitely won the Volkan Oezdemir fight, don't get me wrong. But Ovince St. Preux's a good fighter. He really is. Now, Ovince St. Preux's stand-up game is good. You saw that in the Ben Rothwell fight. He knocked down Rothwell in the last couple seconds in that fight. And Ben Rothwell is one of these guys who is so hard to put down. You saw Andrei Arlovski in the Rothwell fight. Hit Rothwell with everything he had. And same with Tabura. And they had trouble putting down Ben Rothwell. And Ovince St. Preux with one shot cracked. I still think this, okay, St. Preux is getting up there in age. What is St. Preux? St. Preux is 38 years old. I mean, you don't got much time, but St. Preux moved to heavyweight. If there's ever going to be a run for Ovince St. Preux at heavyweight, I guess it's got to be right now. And I wouldn't completely say, okay, Ovince St. Preux has to take down Tanner Boser. I think there is a chance that Ovince St. Preux could come in this fight, try to stand with Tanner Boser and try to knock him out. The problem with this is, though, we've seen Ovince St. Preux get knocked out recently to Jamal Hill. I don't know where the chin is at of Ovince St. Preux. I've seen him get knocked out by Jimmy Manuwa. I've seen him get knocked out by Jamal Hill as well in the UFC. Tanner Boser's been finished once. He got knocked out once, a long time ago. You got to go all the way back to Unified MMA 22 in March of 2015. Lost in 6 seconds to Tim Hogg. He lost heavyweight championship in 6 seconds. It's going to happen to you. So I think... Obviously, St. Preux's got a chance to win this fight on the feet. I don't think he's going to be able to put away Boser. Now, on the ground, that's a different story. And again, I just don't think that St. Preux is going to come in there and he's going to try to stand with Boser, considering how Boser's last fight went. He lost that fight is because he couldn't do anything on the ground against Ilir Latifi. Latifi won that fight with control time on the ground. That's what St. Preux's got to do as well. I just don't like the styles matchup right here for Tanner Boser. I don't like it at all. I really don't, because I think St. Preux can hang with him on the feet to the point where St. Preux is going to do well on the feet, and then eventually he's going to take him down. I'd like Ovince St. Preux to win this fight. I'd like him to win this one by submission. Oh my goodness, another finished victory. Yeah, I think so. St. Preux is going to take him down the first round. He's going to take him down the second round. Eventually, he's going to be up 2-0, and in the third round, he's going to submit him with the OSP or the Von Flue choke. Yeah, I'm going another Von Flue finish for Ovince St. Preux. I think that's the clearest path to victory for him. I think he takes down Boser 3 times in this fight, and I think that's all it's going to take. Take down the first round, take down the second round, third round, finishes him with the Von Flue. Give Ovince St. Preux the victory in his 41st fight. He beats Tanner Boser, improves to a record of 26-15. Now it is time for the main event of the evening. We have got 2 top 5 heavyweights in Alexander Volkov and Bongame Ciryl Gane. What a damn fight this is going to be. The winner of this fight may be looking at a title shot. We'll just have to wait. But oh my goodness, what a fight we do have. We're going to start first here with Alexander Volkov. The last fight for him. Tremendous win over Alistair Overeem. Overeem could not get started in that fight. He broke the nose of Overeem in the first round. Second round ended up finishing him. That was not a competitive fight at all, and that's the fight that took Overeem out the UFC. Now, should Overeem still be in the UFC? Definitely, and now he's going to go kickbox, but Volkov looks so damn good in the Overeem fight. Same can be said in the Walt Harris fight. Knocked him out, or didn't knock him out. Got him with the body kick, though, and put him down. It was a great performance by Volkov in that one over Walt Harris. Now, the Curtis Blades fight was not tremendous. Came back in the 4th and 5th rounds, looked good in the end of that fight, but Curtis Blades uses wrestling to his advantage in this one, and that's something you got to keep an eye out for Ciryl Gane in this one. We'll just have to wait and see about that. Maybe Gane uses his wrestling and his ground control in this one, but before that, for Volkov, he beats Greg Hardy in a fight that was maybe too competitive. He won that fight. It wasn't, there was never a doubt that Volkov wasn't going to win that fight, but Greg Hardy went 3 rounds with Alexander Volkov. Yeah, and Marcin Tybura finished him. Okay, before that, Volkov was 11 seconds away from getting a title shot. He gets KO'd by Derek Lewis. It's going to happen to you. Derek Lewis is about to fight for the title, and he's 1 shot away from becoming the heavyweight champion of the world, right? So, there's that. Volkov, before that, beat Fabricio Verdum in a fight where we rewatched it recently. Volkov just didn't want to be there. It was kind of weird. Verdum didn't really want to be there either. Both those guys were, I guess, they're buddies. I don't know. Volkov didn't really want to hit Verdum. He eventually put him down in the 4th round. He KO'd him. It was a weird fight in England. Gave the win to Volkov, obviously. It was just a fight. It was a weird fight. Volkov ended up winning that one, though. Verdum hasn't been the same guy really ever since. And before that, for Volkov, he beat Stefan Struve by TKO in the main event in the Netherlands. Beat Rory Nelson before that by unanimous decision. And then made his UFC debut against a guy who's going to be challenging for the Bellator Interim Championship this Friday night in Tim Johnson. Yeah, Volkov beat Tim Johnson by split decision in his main event over in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And before that, fought in M1, fought in Bellator. Actually, last round in Bellator, he went 0-2, losing to Tony Johnson, in his first fight there, and then losing to Czech Congo after that as well. And of course, he fought in Bellator multiple times before that. Last fight in Bellator in his first run was a win over Blagoy Ivanov. Volkov's good, man. I mean, I think the Alistair Overeem fight showed you how good Alexander Volkov is and how good of a striker he is. Maybe it's the tattoo. Maybe it's the tattoo. I mean, it's a new Alexander Volkov. His striking looked very good in that fight against Overeem. He looked very good in the Walt Harris fight. Looked good as well. Volkov's one of these guys, man. He's only 32. We talk about the potential of Ciryl Gane, how young he is, and how this guy can be good. He can be around for the next 8 years. The same can be said about Alexander Volkov. Volkov's only 32. And he's had 41 pro fights. Ciryl Gane's 31, he's had 8 fights. The experience goes to Alexander Volkov in this one. It does. Man, I mean, some people are writing off Volkov in this fight. He's got a very good chance to beat Ciryl Gane in this one. He's got a good shot. He really does. Now, Volkov, I think all around is the better striker than Ciryl Gane. You saw Gane do well in the feet against Jairzinho and Rosenstrike and good in the feet against JDS. But JDS chins Gane. Rosenstrike was just gun shy in that one. Right? So, Volkov, man, if he uses his striking to his advantage, using his reach, he's 6'7", 80-inch reach for him. The thing is, Ciryl Gane's got an 81-inch reach as well. So, Gane's 6'5", Volkov 6'7", some big guys in that small octagon in the UFC Apex. This is one of these fights, man, I wish was in front of a crowd. Hell, like, take this one to Russia, take it to France, I don't know, put it in a big octagon. It would be a fun fight. Put it in Fight Island, I don't care, but this is why we need fight nights with crowds. It's gotta happen soon, right? It's got to happen eventually where they put these fight nights in maybe the Palms or whatever, the Mandalay Bay, some casino in Vegas. They got to start doing it. Hell, do it in Trump Tower. I don't care. But, I mean, eventually we got to get some crowds for these fights. And we got to get a bigger octagon. But it's just, I'm just saying, it's going to be weird seeing Volkov and Gane in this really small octagon. But Volkov, man, again, tremendous striker. He's 33-8. We're going to talk about his opponent now, though, in Bongame. Ciryl Gane. And yeah, Gane looked good in the Rosenstrike fight. I picked him to win that one. Gane did everything he needed to do in that one. Now, Dana White wasn't happy with his performance in that one. Was it the best fight ever? No, it wasn't. But, I mean, Gane did what he needed to do in that one. He did. I mean, Rosenstrike didn't throw anything back at him. He got 50-45s across the board for that one. Pretty boring main event. But, again, it was a fight that Ciryl Gane, he won that fight, and if he got knocked down the 5th round, which Jaynes and Rosenstrike did to Overeem, if he got knocked down the 5th round trying to go for a finish when he was up 4-0, and Rosenstrike knocked him out, you'd be looking back at that fight right now and you'd be thinking, damn, Ciryl Gane's an idiot for trying to win that fight in the 5th round and exposing himself to the power of Jaynes and Rosenstrike. So, now, was it the best fight ever? No, but Gane did what he needed to do. Before the Gane, he knocked out Junior Dos Santos. He got him with the elbow. Was it to the back of the head? Yeah, a little bit. It kind of was, but Gane won that fight. He was well on his way. JDS, unfortunately, is not the same JDS who was the former champion back in the day. Before that, Gane beat Tanner Boser over there in Busan, South Korea. Beat Dontel Mays by heel hook in Singapore. They're going to show that one a million times before this fight. And then before that, beat Rafael Pessoa in his UFC debut over in Uruguay on the Shevchenko Carmouche 2 card in August of 2019. Ciryl Gane, though, just 8-0. Again, only 8 pro fights in MMA. Now, before his MMA career, he did fight Muay Thai. Did have 7 fights. I do believe he went undefeated there as well. Such a good striker, Ciryl Gane. He really is. Throws the knees really well. Throws a lot of kicks. Throws a lot of leg kicks as well. Very long fighter as well. He's got 80. Again, he got the 81-inch reach for Volkov. 80, basically virtually identical between these two. Now, the big factor though in this one is, will we see the ground game of Ciryl Gane? We did not see it in the Junior Dos Santos fight, and we did not see it in the Jaynes and Rosenstrike fight. If he's in there with a very good striker in Alexander Volkov, a guy who's had what? 32 more professional fights, 33 more professional fights than him. Will he have to resort to the ground game? Will he have to go to the ground game and see, okay, Curtis Blades be Alexander Volkov this way. This is how I got to be Alexander Volkov. There's a very good chance that's what Gane does. I mean, there's a very good chance that's what he has to do in this fight. Because I think pure striking, Alexander Volkov's got the advantage. I really think he does. But I think on the ground, yeah, Gane's got the advantage. We've seen Gane go in there. He's gone in, he's beat guys on the ground such as, well, it's Rafael Pessoa and Dontel Mays, but still, he looked good in those 2 fights. Took down Pessoa, got him with an arm triangle. In the Dontel Mays fight, I mean, hell, with like 14 seconds left in that one, he was well on his way to a unanimous decision victory. He came in there, was like, all right, I want 50 G's, got the heel hook, tapped out Dontel Mays. So we know Ciryl Gane has got the ground game. It's something that you don't see out of a lot of heavyweights. And yeah, that's where Volkov has had some trouble. I mean, basically just in that Curtis Blades fight. And if he did lose to Derek Lewis, again, we'd be looking at Volkov, a guy who's probably already fought for the title before. Now, would he have lost to DC? Probably, but still, we're looking at a former title challenger if he just, backs away from Derek Lewis in those last 10 seconds. Ciryl Gane, how does he win this fight? He's got to use his striking well, and again, he's got to get this one to the ground. I don't think if Ciryl Gane strikes with Alexander Volkov for 5 rounds and for 25 minutes, I don't know if he gets 25 minutes with Volkov. I don't know if he does. Volkov's striking is that good. Like, the Overeem fight showed you how good Volkov is. The Harris fight showed you how good Volkov really is. It's a tough fight to call, man, because Gane, again, he's the up-and-comer, but the thing is, he's only had 8 pro fights. He's 31. Volkov's had 41 pro fights at 32 years of age. It's not like Volkov's this old guy and Ciryl Gane's the young prospect who's like 22 years old. So do I think Gane's got a chance to win this fight? Definitely. But I think Alexander Volkov gets it done. Yeah, I'm going with the upset in the main event here. I think the experience is going to play a big factor in this one. I just think it is. I think Ciryl Gane eventually might be a future champion. I don't think this is the fight for him, though. Ciryl Gane's what, right? Number 3 right now? Volkov's 5? Alexander Volkov, man. I mean, don't underestimate this man. His striking is so damn good. The Overeem and Harris fights showed you how good his striking was. In the Curtis Blades fight, he was getting out-wrestled for 3 rounds, comes back in the 4th and 5th, basically wins those last 2 rounds by beating Curtis Blades on the feet. Now, he couldn't finish Blades, but he looked good at the tail end of that fight. I like Volkov doing this fight. I like Volkov's cardio as well. And again, he got knocked out by Derek Lewis in the last couple seconds of that fight, with the exception of the fight at UFC 229. Alexander Volkov has been near perfect in the UFC, and I know the Curtis Blades fight does exist, but man, Volkov, I can't stress to you how good of a striking game Volkov does have. And I think, again, if Gane stands there and strikes with Volkov for 25 minutes, I do not know if Gane gets 25 minutes with Volkov standing. If Gane uses his wrestling and he uses his takedowns and uses his grappling, then completely different game. But I would not take for granted Gane's ability to get a takedown in this one. I think Volkov's going to be able to keep this fight standing. If this fight keeps standing, Volkov is probably going to win this one. That's why I'm going Alexander Volkov to beat Ciryl Gane. Going up to this fight, I was going to take Ciryl Gane. I was going to say, okay, I think Gane's takedown's going to be good here. I think he's going to probably be able to take him down. I think he's going to be able to work him on the feet. Looking back at it now, I do not think so. And now, maybe could this is going to be the fight for Ciryl Gane where he gets a big stepping stone and he's like, all right, Ciryl Gane wins this fight. He's fighting for the title next, or he's fighting Jon Jones. Maybe it's one of these fights. Maybe it is. But I like the veteran in this one, and I'm taking a guy who's a veteran who's only 1 year older than the prospect in Ciryl Gane. I like Volkov to win this fight, and I like his striking. It's that simple. I think Volkov outstrikes Ciryl Gane, and I think he puts him away. Yeah, I think Volkov gets a finish. In the 4th round, he TKOs Ciryl Gane. I think he wins the first 3. I don't think Gane's able to get him to the ground. I think Volkov is going to be able to stuff a couple of takedowns. He's going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. I'm going with Drago to pick up the win. Yeah, I'm going with Ciryl Gane to lose to Alexander Volkov, and Volkov will now re-enter the top 3 of the weight class. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm doing it too. Now, where does Volkov go from here? It's interesting. It really is interesting seeing this weight class right now, because we got Ngannou Lewis coming up. Volkov's 5, Blades is 4, Gane is 3, Miocic is 1. We know Curtis Blades' next fight is going to be Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We know Stipe is probably next for the belt after the winner of Lewis and Ngannou. There's only one fight here. The winner of this fight's fighting Jon Jones, right? Probably, maybe, I don't know. The winner of this fight's such a good test for Jon Jones. It really is. Now, should Jon Jones be fighting the winner of the title fight between Ngannou and Lewis? Probably, but what Dana said so far, he's not happy about what Jon Jones has been doing to try to get that title fight. He's liking Stipe for the winner of that one. If that's the case, book the winner against Jon Jones. And if Jon Jones is getting the winner of Derek Lewis and Ngannou, then you got to book the winner of this fight against Stipe. Winner of that fight gets the championship. The winner of this fight is a fight away, or 2 fights away from the championship if you're including this one. Right? I don't think the winner of this fight is getting a title shot, but if Volkov or Gane can win this one, you're looking at a big fight no matter what. Because you've got to think about it this way. There's only big fights for the winner of this one, because it's either the title shot, which is obviously a big fight. Stipe is a big fight because he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, and you're looking probably... It's a weird spot where they put Stipe. You're probably looking at a 5-round fight in a co-main event of a pay-per-view. That's where I think you put Stipe, because I don't think you put Stipe on free TV. Maybe you put it in... Actually, no, I correct myself. I think you probably put that one on ABC. That's a big fight. Stipe is probably going to go on ABC's next fight if he's not fighting for the championship. So you're either looking at a championship fight on a pay-per-view, you're looking at Stipe Miocic, or you're looking at a main event, non-title fight against Jon Jones on a pay-per-view. Right, so the winner of this fight's getting a big fight no matter what. I think it's going to be Alexander Volkov, and I think Alexander Volkov TKOs Ciryl Gane in the 4th round. Give him Jon Jones next. And what a fight that could potentially be. I'm just saying, I would like to see it. And folks, thank y'all for watching my Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov full fight card predictions and preview here on the channel. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel in 2 weeks. Next week, we're taking a break. Obviously, there's no fight for the UFC, but in 2 weeks, it's the trilogy. Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier will do it again, and also Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Gilbert Burns. Pretty damn good card. I'm excited for the T-Mobile Arena. Is going to be back in Las Vegas. I'm excited for that one. But again, that's in 2 weeks. This week, here on Saturday morning, we have got Ciryl Gane and Alexander Volkov. Tremendous heavyweight fight. I cannot wait. So again, folks, thank God for watching. Again, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.